Hello and happy today your way. I'm your host Chuck Beard, coming to you from the NECAT Network PEG Studios right here in Music City. And this is Metro Arts Forging Ahead. Every episode of the show brings together 3 Nashville artists who you may or may not know already from their various professional titles and roles around town. And within each lineup of featured artists, their jobby jobs may vary. One is always someone who practices their art, but also works at a local arts organization or arts-related nonprofit. The second artist is an independent professional, and the third artist is someone who is also an employee within the Metro Nashville government. If you're a longtime viewer, you may already know we always feature an artist doing a live painting to capture the essence of what each episode becomes in real time. The canvas for the live painting is provided by Jerry's Artorama, and the other materials for the artwork is provided by Turnip Green Creative Reviews. All 10 paintings of this first season will be featured throughout the hallways of NECAT Network until the pop-up exhibit in December for the live season finale at the Forge Nashville. Today's live painter is Heidi Schwartz. One of the best in town at what she does, Heidi is a live fine art painter who is known for capturing the essence of every event she works in real time. She basically travels around the world and captures beautiful moments onto what becomes beautiful canvases, or canvasi, I don't know. She's regularly works corporate conferences, grand openings, sporting events, fundraising galas, and weddings, and today she is on our TV show. Heidi, we are honored to have you here with us today. First of all, how are you feeling?
I feel great.
It looks like you're ready over there.
I'm ready. I'm very caffeinated.
You got the backdrop. You've already set it up. Okay. Feel free to do you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
In each show, I've given each live painter and panel of guests a general theme of the episode as an ice-breaking thought of sorts. Beyond April being my birthday month, and beyond us talking about that or the annual record-breaking amount of pollen wherever I am, I thought it would be interesting to follow up the most recent Easter holiday by asking about the influence of religion. We're going right into it. In our various art making, when I told you to imagine the concept of an artist, kind of a separation of church and state of your art or lack thereof, what did that initially spark with you in the painting for today, Heidi?
Well, I feel like creativity always comes from a place of spirituality. So, and I think that's a good place for an artist to be able to be a working artist, because the ego can be very scary and it can prevent you from flow. So I feel like all art is spiritual, really, if you're really in tune. So, I mean, I have to say, like, it's always church up in here on the canvas.
That's a t-shirt. So like you started with the actual theme of, or not even the theme, the title of our show right there before it. Can you talk to what your process normally is, or if it's different every time?
So typically, I do like to play with the blank canvas and have a message or whatever the event is about. It could be a hashtag they want to use, but it's an opportunity because it's a highlight, and it also adds a layer of mystery, and it's also embedded in the painting. So I start with that, and then whatever the event is, I can literally be capturing a scene, or I can go to an event and it's more about like the symbols or the concept, or if it's a corporate event and they have a speaker and they have something they want to talk about, but then I can incorporate as well like some of the corporate logos or whatever. So it depends on each event what they want, which is nice because as an artist it doesn't get stale. So that's how I approach it.
Well, this is the first time that you've been on this show, definitely not your last, but what was the first event that you jumped in and did, like, and consider yourself professional? Obviously you got paid for it, but like.
As a live artist, the very first time I painted was at Grand Ole Opry Hotel. I got asked on a whim to paint live, and I was like, you want me to do what and how long? I was like, if you think your 5-year-old can do better, just never call me again, it'll be fine. And I did it, and it was just kind of like, let's see how this goes. And then and then I got another call, and then I got another call. And so it kind of just slowly, brick by brick, built, and it was completely unexpected. So I think that's how a lot of good things start.
Cool.
Well,
we're going to check back with you in a minute, and you go ahead and get started on your thing. All right, well, speaking of first, the first guest I want to introduce is the artist who practices their art and does a lot of their art or their work with a local arts organization. This man is someone you've probably already seen on stage or enjoyed his art if you've been to anything in this town for the last couple of years. He is a director, actor, producer, writer, spoken word artist, and teacher, among other things. I could keep reading, a community oversight board member, Destiny Theater Experience founder, to say the least. I'm talking about the one and only Shawn Whitsell. Shawn, welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Awesome. With so many titles, I wanted to ask you, how do you introduce yourself to other people?
Well, I always feel uncomfortable when people read bios and then read off titles. So I introduce myself as Destiny's dad. That's the one I take the most pride in. Because when you have kids, you kind of fade into the background a little bit in people's minds. But my daughter, she's been around for a while. She's 18. But I'm just Shawn, and a maker of theater and art. So I'm not obsessed with titles.
I love that. Maker of art. That's another T-shirt. You should just wear it and have your picture on it. So Google it. Glad to have you here, Shawn. Thanks for that. Our second artist is another man who needs no introduction if you're a true Nashvilleian, but here I am. I'm going to give an introduction. The ultimate professional and independent professional at that. Like Shawn and me, he wears a plethora of hats every single day. I'm talking about the musician, the athlete, the quasi-astronaut, the community construction foreman and creative leader, DJ, founder of Sunday Night Soul, and recently the newest friend turned entrepreneur of the Music City Sandwich Company. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Jason Eskridge. Come on, y'all can do better than that. Let's give it up for Jason Eskridge. All right, so Jason, how do you introduce yourself to others? Two-part question, and then also, what is your favorite sandwich so far for today at your place?
So I introduce myself as Jason, because that's my name, and I just leave it
Simple.
at that.
Yeah.
I've said this way too often, and I'll say it again. My favorite sandwich is the one you pay for.
Again, we're just cranking out T-shirts and slogans here, so we need Big to do a jingle. If he was here right now, he'd be having another jingle. Thanks, Jason.
Yes,
Jason. Finally, the third guest of the show, the other person in the lineup who is a creative that works for the Metro government by day and some nights. This man is a musician who went to college at the same place and time as Big Fella, and then brought his musical and tech skills to Nashville upon graduation. A musician, educator, radio enthusiast, this guy worked in Metro Parks as the music and theater supervisor to create programming for education and community performances before switching over to working in the radio shop with the ITS division, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But our 1/4 of the band Indigo Jazz. Please give a big round of applause in the studio for Sam Frazee. My quick question to you to start things off is, do you remember the first time you met or heard about Big Fella on the MTSU campus? Because I feel like that's the folklore in itself.
Oh yeah, man. That was a great experience. It was probably about the year 2000. I had just graduated from MTSU, and I was working part-time in a music studio right off the square. And I got the chance to engineer on Big Fella's record. And so the first time I met him was there in the studio, but we did a lot of sessions on that, and some of those tunes are still kind of stuck in my head, and I really enjoyed that project. And I remember one of the tunes, he said, "Won't you do that damn thing tonight?" I thought that was a hit, man.
was that Broke But Still Living, that album?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. I was there too. You left me out. I was at MTSU
I didn't know you were in the studio as well?
Not in the studio, but I definitely met Big Fella in '99.
You got bars?
I got some secret bars. So.
Your daughter would probably say you were there at the last century. That's where we're going to gauge all of those cells and set our time.
In 1900s.
Well, speaking of last and certainly never the least, someone who is larger than life in Nashville, our friend Willie Sims, aka Big Fella. Big Fella is the ultimate bridge builder, dedicated to fostering art, community, and connection, like all these guests here. Big Fella is an entertainer, ambassador, and entrepreneur. He is a devotional husband and father, the ultimate friend and artist. I'm saying this because he's not in the room, but I'd say it to him if he was in the room. Tonight he is busy on another art project, probably a studio, doing what y'all just said. But I hear he's going to be calling in for the show as usual, a few times tonight. Before we kick it off to another segment, I want to check back in with Heidi just to see where she's going, because I know typically on the show so far we've had artists who grab the canvas, let you in on a little bit behind the scenes thing beforehand and kind of sketch things out. They're all better art than me or anybody else up here as far as painting, so I'm not judging that. But tonight, Heidi is basically starting and finishing a painting all in the show. So Heidi, where are you at with everything?
I'm just kind of creating the first layer. So the beautiful thing about painting is it's in layers, and so you can build it up. So it's kind of, you can have a plan, but it's also a little bit of a discover and delight kind of moment. So I'm just creating a warmth and like the colorscape, and then I'll go from there.
Cool. Do you have a plan or?
Ish.
Ish?
Yeah.
Were you in the studio at MTSU back in 1999? No, I don't know. That's a valid question. I'm doing journalism here.
No.
No. Where did you go to school to study painting, or did you go to school to study painting?
I got kicked out of my high school art class, so no.
Okay. Did you have a teacher that said you weren't good enough and you're like showing them up right now, like who's on TV right now?
Yes. I just think she didn't like me. It was really funny. So, yeah.
Gotcha.
I mean, I was a good kid. I was totally trying to follow the rules.
Did you always start with layers like that, or?
You know, I think I really developed my painting process when I moved out on my own in my early 20s, because I was alone a lot. So I was just kind of discovering, it was more of a therapeutic process. And then I learned about painting via that, not necessarily because I understood technically, it's just more exploratory kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, we're going to explore a little bit more in the future. We are going to take a quick break, but when we get back, we'll get to hear more from these featured guests about the why behind what they do for work and art. We'll be right back. Coffee Talk with Metro Arts is a monthly, sometimes bi-monthly, community gathering where artists, neighbors, and those looking to get involved in the Nashville art scene can connect and share their stories, learn about upcoming projects and opportunities, and meet the people creating exciting new art in Nashville, all while enjoying a nice cup of coffee. For more details, visit us on the web at metroartsnashville.com. Metro Nashville Arts Commission, or Metro Arts, is the Office of Arts and Culture for the City of Nashville and Davidson County. We believe that arts drive a more vibrant and equitable community. We strive to ensure that all Nashvillians have access to a creative life through community investments, artist and organizational trainings, public art, and direct programs that involve residents in all forms of arts and culture. For more information on Metro Arts, visit us on the web at metroartsnashville.com. Welcome back to Metro Arts Forging Ahead. I'm your host, Chuck Beard. And if you're just now joining us, our guests today are Sam Frazee as heck, Jason Eskridge, Shawn Whitsell, and Heidi Schwartz on the live painting. Wait a second, I'm hearing something from the studio that big fella is maybe calling in with something?
Thank you for the introduction, Chuck, a.k.a. Little Chucky Boo Boo. Look, my first question is for Sam. Sam, look, you are at the music department of Metro Parks, right? First and foremost, I love Metro Parks. Man, Monique Odoms, Jim Hester, Jackie Jones, all the OGs, you know what I'm saying? Nothing but love for and respect for Metro Parks and what y'all do over there. But how in the hell did you, as a musician in Nashville, find the music department at Metro Parks? That just seemed like the coolest gig for a Nashville musician.
That's right. I was at Metro Parks for a long time. I was there for 20 years, give or take, maybe a little bit more. And I'm actually not there anymore. I'm with the ITS division. I'm programming up radios for cops and firefighters. But I tell you what, I had a great time at Parks, and you're right, big fella. That was about the coolest gig that anybody could ever imagine. And I was real lucky because the folks that were there before me, like James Nick Nixon and Wayne Hill, Shannon Williford, they had developed a really great culture, bringing up young people, teaching them how to play. And then they were also working with seniors, working with people with disabilities. There was always a lot of opportunities to enrich folks' lives, and that's what I enjoyed the most about that.
How'd you end up from, like, we know you on this show right now that you're in the studio with Big. How'd you end up finding that gig with Parks in the first place?
Right. So I got hired on as a concert sound tech, and so they do like the big band dances, free concerts all throughout the summer, and that was a perfect job for me because I got to be out in the park, summertime, enjoying just the environment, listening to music, and running the board. I loved it. That turned into a teaching job, turned into a full-time job, turned into management administration, and a lot of responsibility. Mm-hmm. And so I had to look to see what else was going on.
Well, it's one thing to help with like an album and getting that together, but like when you're doing that, was that some of the programming, was it already there, or did you kind of create that? I mean, I know with that title you had, it's just working with different people.
A little bit of both. I mean, there was definitely programming there, so it was keeping that rolling, but then also opportunity to create new things. And I got to work with Shawn. I was working in the theater department, and we collaborated and partnered on some stuff. So it was a really nice chance to meet folks in the community and have a good time.
Now, Lauren from the Parthenon told me to ask you about the Jam Band or the Jam thing. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so that was like a teenage music program where we would encourage them to write songs, to go out and perform, to learn their instruments. And a big part of it was, I might have a class where 10 of them were guitar players. I was like, well, I can't have a band with 10 guitar players, so for today you're going to play drums and you're going to play keys, you're going to play bass, and we'd show them enough to get a couple of chords going. A few months later, these kids come out playing lots of songs on different instruments, and so that was really neat to watch them grow and develop. And sometimes I bump into them now, and they're grown folks, and they're nice people, and you talk about how much music has influenced their life, and I was like, wow, man, that's really rewarding.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And then, when you're talking about working for the city and doing the concerts, it made me think of you, Jason, when you've done some big events and DJing for the city for different just things, I mean, all over town, but the big events, like, what has that been like for you? Is it other than just a gig, but working with the city for different things? What has that meant to you? Or
I mean, I think the main thing to know about, and I think a lot of people are finding this out about Nashville, is that like the music city part of the moniker isn't just country music as a lot of people believe, but like there's a little bit of everything here. And I always enjoy working with the city because that allows me to be part of the showcasing of that diversity and showing people, oh wow, there's a lot more to Nashville than just country music.
Yeah, and it's also been one of those things too for you. I'm not leading a question or telling you to go anywhere, but like you've had different people that work for the city believe in the ideas that you've built as well. I mean, I know we can talk about Sunday Night Soul for days, and we may in a minute in another segment, but I mean, just having that reciprocal relationship and respect, what has that meant to you?
I mean, it's now retired Butch Spirit and is a dear friend of mine, basically because of just down through the years working with the city, and I still do a lot of work with them over there, and it means a lot to you to be supported by the place where you live, and it certainly keeps you motivated during those times when you don't necessarily feel motivated.
Mm-hmm. No, it's great. And when I saw the lineup of this when we put this together, I was thinking, oh, these three, not just three amigos, three straight, just guys that I respect, but each have a different touch point with Metro in the city. Obviously, with this platform in Metro Arts and the library right here, and going with Shawn, so you got education over here with music and culture. You got entertainment as well with you as a direct point with the city, and then you have keeping the city accountable. I know I was there when he got nominated or voted in as far as the Community Oversight Board, and I was just curious. I know you also have done Thrive grants and different things in the past with Metro Arts, but specifically I'm fascinated with just the Community Oversight Board and your experience, and what are your takeaways so far? Not to get too in the weeds, but just being on the first one and what's that meant to you and something like that.
Yeah, so I joined the Community Oversight Board in 2020, so right before the pandemic, right before things hit. And I've been on the board since then. We're now the Community Review Board. And so yeah, it's just been an honor to serve the city in that way. I mean, I'm known a lot for my artistry, particularly in the theater, but somebody that cares about the community, that cares about public safety as well. So if anybody's unfamiliar with the Community Review Board, it's we do we're not technically an oversight body anymore, but it's under the umbrella of law enforcement oversight and keeping the police accountable and hearing the community. And so, yeah, been an honor to be on that board and helping to bridge the gap between, the police department and the community. And yeah, it's been an honor. It's been not always easy, but been an honor to serve the city in that way.
Well, especially I imagine coming from scratch where there's nothing. I mean, those are also things that you all three are doing those things, not even being paid, or just what you all do in real life, and then to be able to go into these groups and then be seen in a different way. I was just curious as far as that, Shawn, with what you were just saying, like to go from that board to changing the oversight to review and then all the things that have happened around it. Like, how has that not necessarily changed the passion, but the perception of what you were doing or helping others learn from the city to do better?
Yeah, to me, for me that serving on that board is a direct connection with the duty that I feel to be an activist and to be someone who pours into the community or who helps keep the community safe. And I don't disconnect that from my art, So a lot of the things that or the types of things that we discuss in our board meetings are things that I addressed in some of the plays that I've written. And so for me, sometimes going from a meeting, a CRB meeting that might be intense or might be controversial, and then I gotta leave there and go into a rehearsal or vice versa, But to me, there's a through line between everything that I do, regardless of what umbrella it falls under. So. Yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
No, mine was a vague question, and it was an awesome answer. And that kind of leads me into all three of y'all as far as those touch points in Metro Parks or the events and the relationships and even that and other things you do. Like, has that, and this is a question for all three of you individually, has that inspired some creative art that was directly influenced from that, not just going to rehearsal and then still feeling that angst or feeling these deep thoughts, but has anything original come out of those experiences for either of you yet?
I think for me, and specifically with Sunday Night Soul, it's not so much trying to be particular in how I form a thing to do a specific thing, other than just creating community. Because I think when good people get together, good things happen. And so my goal is always to just get people in a room together, and then let the natural thing happen that happens.
Is that sort of the vibe you have when you're casting some of the plays that you have? Or, I mean, obviously there's some intention behind, or a lot of intention, but.
Absolutely. Building community is exactly what it is that I want to do, and that I try to do in the process. And for me, it's way more than what ends up being on the stage. It's about what journey we went on to get to that point. And so for me, it's about trying to make sure that people have a great experience, and that extends itself to the audience. And so community building is super important, and that people feel transformed in some way. They feel like they've walked out of this experience a better person than they were when they walked in, or they've learned something or gained something. So so that's kind of that through line. I love that he said it's about putting people in the room together and see what happens naturally, because that's a lot of what I do as well.
Cool. And that's what we're doing right here. We just threw everybody in a room and we're seeing what comes out of it. And I'm going to direct it back to the canvas behind me and see what Heidi is throwing together.
That's
and
crazy.
What do you got over there? Can you describe it while you're going through it? I mean, I can take the literal stuff, but
I mean,
what you got?
I'm kind of figuring it out. I'm thinking about your conversation, so I'm abstractly putting you guys in here. Obviously, we have a little bit of an abstract cityscape of Nashville, because this is all about Nashville. So I'm incorporating symbols of creativity with your conversation, and playing with that right now. We'll see
No,
what happens.
I love the desk, and you're making me look good, and you're making them look handsome as well.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
yeah. But like, I was gonna say, like, anything come from that conversation that you're hearing, or related to any of the events that you're doing around Nashville, and whether it's city events or private events that like really touches your art?
You know, I probably live a little bit if I'm being honest, I probably am a little bit more bubble oriented in terms of the way that I process my creativity, because it is very personal to me. So I tend to just like, maybe that's part of my version of channeling, I guess, if that makes sense. So to go back to your first question about it being spiritual, I mean, it truly does feel very spiritual for me. So like, sometimes I think things organically come, but it's not necessarily planned, if that makes sense.
No, I like it. The best things aren't planned.
Yeah.
Unlike the scripted outro. Thanks for sharing, Heidi. Once again, we're going to take a quick break here on Metro Arts Forging Ahead. When we come back, we're going to hear more from today's guests about their work that they're doing these days. Please stay tuned.
The Forge Nashville mission is to give more people affordable access to the professional tools, space, and support they need to succeed as a maker and artist, and to provide new opportunities to youth and underserved communities. Welcoming beginners, passionate creators, and aspiring entrepreneurs, The Forge changes lives. The Forge has a place for everyone. Whether you're looking for a full table in a shop, a community co-working space, or just want to support Nashville's makers. To find out more, visit us online at theforgenashville.org. The Forge Nashville. Meet your makers.
Metro Arts' vision is that every person should have access to a creative life, and few places are more accessible than our city's public library. Metro Arts launched the collection in partnership with Nashville Public Library, established with the goals of expanding access to the arts for all Nashvillians while providing direct support to local artists. 60 original artworks from Nashville area artists are available for anyone with a library card to check out at NPL's Donaldson, East, Green Hills, Hermitage, Madison, Old Hickory, and Southeast locations. For more information and to browse the collection online, please visit library.nashville.gov. Welcome back to Metro Arts Forging Ahead. I'm your host, Chuck Beard, in conversation with a few Nashville artists who inspire me and many others in the city. Speaking of artists who inspire pretty much everyone they meet, I want to hear more about creatives creating these days beyond their own art expertise. Wait a second, I'm getting something in this fake earpiece that Big is calling in again. Take it away, Big.
All right, my next question is from a guy who I done known, we 25 years in? Shawn, at least it's all damn near 25 years. You look young, but you old as hell, cuz. Shawn, man. All right, so you know I'm your biggest fan in real life. How do you balance all the stuff you be doing, man? Like, how do you balance it? You writing, directing, you out here raising money for the people that's going through it. You be in the juveniles. People be asking me, how do I do it? I do a lot. You crazy as hell, man. How do you do it? How do you make that happen, man? You be in Kentucky, you be in Nashville, you be in Chattanooga. How you do it, bro?
I appreciate that he is paying attention to where I'm at, you know. But yeah, we go back, and you know, one thing that he tells me all the time, he's like, "You're the same guy that I met back in '99," and I really appreciate that, because I try to be that same person with this, you know, with a very sincere heart that I was back then, and just a better version of it as I get older and more experienced. And to answer his question, every day is a new adventure, is a new journey. I don't have, you know, like, I still don't have it all figured out, you know, so I just like take what's in front of me, and I struggle to balance sometimes. Sometimes I'm really great at it. I'm like, boom, I'm killing it. And some days it's like, it's killing me. But I just try to give myself, I'm definitely like a get up and go person, and I try to give myself grace when I need it. Learn from, you know, my experiences, and I just try to, you know, take one thing at a time and just do my best with it. I don't have it down to a science. Yeah,
from the outside, like what Heidi was saying, canvas to canvas kind of thing, it's almost like I see you as project to project, not just place to place. But I mean, we're all doing what we can do with the bandwidth we have each week, but you do an excellent job of going fully into each project and then coming out and coming to the next one? I don't know what it feels like for you, but you're busy.
Yeah, sometimes it's multiple projects, so it's like going from one project to the next within the same day and then going back to another project. But that's, I do it because I love it and there's value in it and it's impacting other people, so. Yeah.
Oh, I got a question for you about MTSU, going back to that too. Like, was there, during your college days, did you all perform together, as far as not like, like a kid and play in the studio or anything, but like actual production? I mean, he's an actor as well, so I didn't know if you all did any plays or anything dramatic arts-wise.
No, we were in an organization called the Urban Music Society, and I was the president of that at one point. We did a trip, Big Fella and I, and some other folks that were in the organization to. We went to Florida for a big conference, so that was like an adventure. So we worked in the organization together, and maybe did some other things, but yeah, we were just like in community with each other, so always kind of collaborating on stuff. Yeah, music related mostly.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, he mentioned the adolescence, and you mentioned your daughter earlier. As far as that, can you tell us more about like how the theater, Destiny Theater experience came together, and then what you've done with that so far? How's that evolved?
Yeah, so my daughter was born in 2006, and I founded a theater company in 2007. I named it after her because I was a new dad, and she was such a great inspiration. And so I just knew that I wanted to create opportunities for myself, my friends who were also actors and artists, and then particularly those of us who are of color, Black folks, but it's definitely not limited to anybody. But there are specific stories that I wanted to make sure were told, and I had those stories that were like floating around my head, stories that were on my heart, and so I created a vehicle to make sure those stories got out. And through that, I've been able to meet so many great people, give people opportunities for the first time, and build community, going back to that word, and travel. And so it's just like wide open to see where we go, but it's always done with a lot of love and a lot of heart and intention. So,
cool. Yeah.
Well,
one more thing with you. You mentioned Chattanooga. What was the project? I know you had just finished up a project down there. I didn't know if you could speak to that or what happened.
Yeah, I spent about 2.5 months in Chattanooga with Chattanooga Theater Center directing Dreamgirls, the musical. And it was a great learning experience. And I met a bunch of new family there. So it was a challenging experience in the sense that it's such a big musical and there's a lot of moving parts and logistics to figure out. And that was part of the reason why I took the gig, is because I knew I'd be challenged. And I met so many great people, and it was a great experience. So I hope to be able to go back and do more work at that theater.
Cool. Well, I think in this other earpiece I have, Big has got another message. If we can go to that, that'd be great.
All right, so this next question, this for my man 50 Grand, all day long. I done known you for a long time, Mr. Jason Eskridge. Cause I don't think people understand how dynamic of an individual you are. To college football, to working at NASA, you damn near a rocket scientist. To coming to Nashville and putting a mark on it in the music scene like few have done in real life. Sunday Night Soul, now you're DJing. What made you make that transition to being a restaurateur? You know what I'm saying? Like how you go from music to them tasty ass themed sandwiches. I just want to know.
Well, big fella, I think the most direct answer as to why I pivoted, if you will, to being a restaurant owner is that for the last 25 years I've primarily made a living as a vocalist, and about 3 years ago I started having issues with my vocal cords. So had to figure out something else to do. I'm from East Tennessee. I grew up about 30 minutes this side of Knoxville, and something we have up there is called the steamed sandwich. And there's not a good place here in Nashville to get one. Well, there is now, because, but I decided, I wanted to bring, something from my childhood, something from how I grew up, to Nashville, that would again just be something unique and something that wasn't already here. So, I think a lot of the things that I've done down through the years have just been things that I wanted to do, and I a lot of people think that I had a dream to become a restaurant owner, and I didn't. I was perfectly content being a musician and being a vocalist. And so this is it's definitely a different, there's a different motivation behind it, but it's this, I attack it with the same fervor that I do everything else that I do, because like I do things with excellence or don't do them. I hear my grandfather saying that everything I do. Like I hear him saying that in my ear. So yeah, restaurant, Music City Sandwich Company.
Well, other than
Tasty ass sandwich.
Yeah, another T-shirt.
Apparently,
Another T-shirt.
T-shirt.
What's your biggest takeaway or the biggest lesson so far, or appreciation since opening?
I'm an analytical by nature. Like I'm gonna crunch the numbers. I'm gonna stack it all up, tear it down, stack it up again, tear it down, and I feel like the one thing that happened to me recently that made me think, see, that's why I do all this, was when the health department came and we had our first health inspection and got a 99 on it. And so I was like, I was telling my staff even, I was like, see, this is why I'm a jerk about all this stuff, so we can get a 99 and I took a lot of pride in that, being a first-time restaurant owner, and really figuring all this stuff out on the fly, to feel like, all right, well, again, like if you apply excellence to everything you do, regardless of whether it's something you're passionate about or not, you will get a 99 or 100, So I think that's in the 3 months that we've been open, like that's been the one, I guess you would say, benchmark moment where I was like, okay, we're doing something right,
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Well, this is a bad transition, but it's a bad dad transition. Sam, when thinking of people in transition and pivoting, you're in Metro still. Mm-hmm. What was that like, going from one program to the other and just building the new sense of community with what you're doing at Radio Shaw?
Completely different headspace. I was coming from a very, arts, creative organization to much more technical and, sort of adjacent to public safety. So it was a kind of a big transition at first, to hanging out with artists all day to now, doing more work that is dealing with, either computers or radios or guys who spend their time, on the front lines, dealing with problems that I'm glad to not have to deal with. I'm talking about police and firefighters and guys like that. But it's been really rewarding in that I've always had sort of a interest in electronics and sort of technical, the way things work. That's what attracted me to running sound systems and working in studios, and aside from a love of music, but also kind of what makes things tick. And so this has given me a chance to hone up on my skills and also get a sense of the way our city works kind of on another level, where I was thinking about putting together shows or working out what bands are going to play and what songs we're going to do next, to now it's making sure that guys have the tools they need to answer calls when our community members are in distress. Mm-hmm. And somebody comes in and says, hey, my radio's not working, I need this or that. Well, I don't know, I'm kind of busy. And then you think, that guy's dealing with some serious stuff out there, and the last thing we want is for his, sort of lifeline to not to work. He keys up and it bonks, so no connection. That's a bad feeling. So it's it gives me a sense of really important work. It's like it could make a big difference.
Awesome. Appreciate your service for sure.
Sure.
Heidi, speaking of service and creating, what you got over there? Quick answer. Where's this going?
Where is this going? Right now I'm thinking about all the forms of creativity. And you know, that can be education. We are the Athens of the South. Little nod to the Parthenon.
A little Parthenon.
Little mini Parthenon, you know. So I'm just thinking about that, especially as Nashville is growing. So yeah, I think we have a long way to go in terms of like our creativity, and it's exciting to be on the cusp of that. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you. We don't have a long way to go. We have one more segment and we have one more promo break. So thank you for tuning in for Metro Arts Forging Ahead. We're going to take one more quick break before the final segment. Thanks for joining us.
NECAT stands for Nashville Education Community Arts Television, and our mission is twofold: expose Middle Tennessee viewers to arts and education programming created both locally and around the world, and teach individuals and organizations who wish to make TV shows how to do so. Let them use our equipment and resources, and then broadcast those shows for them. For more information on how to get started creating your own TV show with NECAT, visit us on the web at necatnetwork.org.
Suppose for just a moment you were Nashville's government. You have a bit of money and you want some to be spent. And keeping Nashville beautiful's a priority for you. You want to help your people out too. What would you do? You could start a Metro Arts. 15 citizens on a commission. Art is what they know. Them and 5 committees decide where the money goes. And dedicated staff to see that all the work gets done, making Nashville better for everyone. You could start a Metro Arts. Public art and grants would each play a part. Occasionally embroiled in scandal, but it's nothing you can't handle. You should start a Metro Arts.
Thank you, Ellen. Welcome back to Metro Arts Forging Ahead. Again, I'm your host, Chuck Beard. Today we've had a big time learning from Sam Frazee as heck, Jason Eskridge, Shawn Whitsell, and Heidi Schwartz. In this last segment, with everything going on in our world today, I want to kind of pick up where we left off with the power of creating the world you want to live in. Jason, you are not one to talk about yourself much, so I want you to talk about something you care a lot about and that truly helps others. I want to tell us about Sunday Night Soul and where that came from, and again, back to that sense of community and how it's evolved for you.
Yeah, so, golly, back in 2014, I would spend a lot of time over at the 5 Spot, and namely at their Monday night, their Motown night that they do over there, and it was just such a great time, and again, people from all different walks of life having fun together, listening to music, and it struck me. I was like, man, this would be a really cool dynamic to create, but with live music. And so when I reached out to them about, potentially doing a live soul music night there, I mean, from the jump, they were fully supportive. And so, like I said, it's been, we just had our 11-year anniversary from being over there doing that, and and I say it from the stage every time I get a chance. There's only a couple of things in this world that I found that kind of break down all the walls that are in between people, and music is definitely one of those things, and specifically for me, soul music. And so every time we're there, I tell the people, like, this is an opportunity for you to be in a room with people who you don't look like, people who you might not vote like, people who you may not believe like, all these different things. but this is an opportunity for you to be in a room with those people and come to a conclusion that you're really not that much different than they are, and you're more similar to them than the world that we live in would have you believe. So, again, you know, community is something I care about, because I think when we're in the room together, like, that's when stuff gets figured out. Not when we're on the other side of the room throwing rocks at each other, you know.
Do you know when the next one is? Of course you do, if anybody does. But can you tell us?
It is the 4th Sunday of this month. So I believe if my spreadsheet brain is working correctly, it's the 25th of this month.
And at the 5 spot.
At the 5 spot, yeah.
Yeah. And I'd be remiss if you didn't. Do you want to say anything about the owner that just passed away? I know he's a friend of yours. I mean, just to give a little homage, like
Travis Collinsworth, just one of the best people you would ever know, and the entire East Nashville community lost a gem, lost one of our cornerstones over there. But you know, I always think about, like, you know, I'm at that age where I'm losing people, like, and when you turn a certain age, it's just weekly, monthly, whatever it is, someone goes away. And so I have tried to shift my thinking from mourning to, like, okay, how can I honor this person that I miss so dearly? And through that, like, we're just going to keep working hard to make Sunday Night Soul a beautiful night, and to create the type of community that Travis was always a champion of.
Not a hard left, but going back to what Sam said in the last segment about, like, the perspective of, you know, you're working with first responders and your job and the purpose, and I'm sure there's a lot of content that goes into, or ideas, like we said earlier, that bleeds into your creativity. Can you tell us more about Indigo Jazz, the music that you do with that, and then if just how life intersects with that?
Sure.
The work life.
The great thing about living in Nashville and being a musician is you get the chance to interact with so many talented artists. You get to be around people who are really world class. And they said that Nashville's a town where the guy bagging your groceries is a better flat picker than you. And it's so true. So the guys in my band, we got drums, upright bass, and we got some really talented singers that work with us. And I'm playing guitar. And we're doing a lot of standards, you know, songs from the American Songbook. I love all that stuff. I love Cole Porter and George Gershwin, and, you know, music that was really popular in the 30s and 40s and 50s. But we play every Saturday night at Bella Napoli, which is an Italian restaurant, very authentic. We're out on the patio, so if the weather's nice, you guys come down there and get some wood-fired pizza. But there's lots of other, you know, opportunities to play in Nashville and to be around great musicians. And that's one thing I'm really thankful for is, you said it, Jason, that it's a lot more than country music. You know, it's very eclectic. I have a gig this weekend. I think it's funny. I'm playing a wedding with an accordion player. The couple wanted polka music for the reception. They rented out the Country Music Hall of Fame to host it. And during the service, we're playing Whitney Houston and a song from New Kids on the Block. So, I mean, that's everything covered in one gig, you know.
Polka version.
Whitney meets polka. Anyway, I'm grateful for all the cool artists that we get to meet here.
Speaking of cool artists, I think we got another shout out from Big. I think I'm getting this on a call.
All right, look, so this question right here is for all y'all, right? All of y'all are high-level creatives and in Nashville, in the Music City. And from your perspective, what do you think Nashville is missing that would make the experience better here for its homegrown creative people, musicians, artists, writers, actors? Like, what's one thing that would just make this better, not just for you, but for all the creative people here from your perspective?
Let's just go down the line right here. Heidi, you first. Okay, Heidi last.
No, Speak to Heidi. She hasn't spoken in a while.
I was really hoping. Okay.
Real quick, short answer from everybody.
I think if we could create more of an environment of support for our artists, especially our visual artists, I'll speak to that because I think it's probably underrated over here. So, yeah.
Cool. Tag, Jason.
I think just always putting people in the room to help make the decisions about things that have actually done the thing. Because I think often decisions are made about like funding and things like that by people who haven't actually done the thing.
Ooh, that's good.
And so they don't actually know what the people need.
Shawn, what you got?
I would say from the theater perspective, we need more venues. And then also like just from a more general perspective, doing deep dives into communities and asking people who may not be artists, but asking people what they want, what they want to see, and what they want to experience.
I love it.
Sam.
I think it'd be really nice to have some synergy between the different art forms. This is great to have live art, happening here. But if we could have a night with spoken word, with music, with a theater piece, maybe even some culinary arts all happening at the same time, and then you get a little cross-pollination. So folks maybe see something that they didn't realize they were as interested in as they really are.
All great answers. I loved it. All one answer straight through. Shawn, I was just thinking when Jason was talking about Sunday Night Soul and community again. I mean, I've been to several plays the last couple of years, and one, I want to know what the next project is for Destiny Theater Experience that you're working on, but also just what is that acting community locally? What does that mean to you? What is it like for somebody that's not in it? And seeing a lot of connections, not just same people in circles, just like music in the rounds. It's like, but it seems like a very tight bond of relationships.
It is. It's like when you spend that much time creating and you're putting your heart and soul into a project, and you spend hours and hours with people. You get to know them personally, but you're also like, you're building a thing together. So that community happens naturally, and then you go away, but you've gained family, and then you cross paths with those people again, and maybe not all at the same time, but like we are working together constantly, so we're building that rapport, building community. And so I think I've gotten lost in my answer. I don't know if I've answered your question.
No,
but
what does it mean to you though?
What is it?
Yeah.
It means a lot to be able to have people that I've met because I've cast them in the show, or because we've been cast in the show together, and we go from strangers to being, people who are in community with each other. And some of my closest friends have come from, due to being a part of a project together. So yeah, it's meant a lot to me beyond the professional realm, but just as a person, just all the friends I've gained from that. Yeah.
It's something that we all feel, but it's important to say it out loud sometimes. So I appreciate you and all of y'all for sharing that. Yeah. Quick shout out to Heidi. Can you give us? I know people can come to the finale and see the finished painting, but you're almost finished right now.
Yeah.
Tell us where you're at and what's going on at the end of it.
Well, I mean, obviously it's kind of a collage of the arts. I have you guys all look beautiful. You're immortalized forever. You're abstractly in there. So, when you're doing a painting, that's a little bit, when speed is of the essence, so it's under an hour, so it gets a little bit looser, but then there's also a fun way to really play and get color. So, yeah, we have the creativity, trying to represent all the elements. We've got a little ballerina, we've got drama, we've got our mini Parthenon, we've got film, we've got a palette, and music, of course.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's great.
I think we got Big, maybe one more time. Big?
Thank y'all for watching Metro Arts Forging Ahead. One love from NECAT, Metro Arts, WXNA, Nashville Public Library, The Forge, and Fellow Vision. And shout out to everybody on the show, man. Sam Frazee, Jason Eskridge, and my guy, Shawn Whitsell. Thank y'all, man. Come back next time. Back to you, Chuck.
Thanks, Big. Additionally, thanks to everyone on the show, Heidi included, everyone listening and watching the show, everyone at NECAT, from Cameron, Eric, Sam, and more behind the camera, everyone smiling in the live audience. I see you. My peripheral vision is excellent. Music City Sandwich Company, go get you one tomorrow. The Forge Nashville, Indigo Jazz, Destiny Theater Experience, Jerry's Artorama, Turnip Green Creative Reuse, Metro ITS, and Metro Parks, and you, the viewer. We are going to end every Metro Arts Forging Ahead episode this season with the final word, as it should be, from one of our featured artists. Before he does what he do, I certainly want to sincerely thank you for tuning in here today and for staying tuned for more great stuff soon. Handing the curtain call back to Shawn Whitsell with his final words of the day. One last time, my name is Chuck Beard, and I hope you're feeling better about your Nashville world after listening to some of our creative friends and seeing how they are making Nashville and the world a more beautiful place. So without further ado, Shawn, please share your power.
All right, so what I would like to share to all our viewers and everyone in the room is to make the work you do contagious. Share your art, share your stories, share your knowledge and expertise, share your heart.